Okay, so many people familiar with the Hamilton musical know that Alexander Hamilton is branded as an illegitimate child. Today we're going to talk about some of his family members and why that is. The story really starts from Hamilton's maternal grandparents on his mom's side. His grandfather is a French Huguenot. His grandmother is of British origins. They're going to have 7 kids, Hamilton's mom being the youngest of those 7 and one of only 2 to survive into adulthood. The marriage is relatively unhappy, so they're going to end up getting a divorce. His grandfather is going to leave the estate to Rachel, Hamilton's mother, which is going to make her a very eligible bachelorette. Rachel, Hamilton's mom, was apparently very good looking and she had a large fortune, so she would have been somebody that many people would have had their eye on looking to marry. Rachel's mom pushes her to marry a guy by the name of Johann Levine. He's somebody that dressed very fancy and came across like he had a lot of money and like he was very successful, though this is going to turn out to be completely untrue and is pretty much the bane of Hamilton's existence. This marriage is going to have one legitimate child, Peter, though the marriage has its squabbles from pretty much day one, and Levine does a good job at just slowly going through the fortune that Rachel had. With that being said, after about 5 years, Rachel pretty much just ups and leaves the marriage. There was a law at the time that if 2 people were to go to court and testify that a wife had been unfaithful, she would then sit in jail. This could have been a ploy by Levine to have Rachel sit in jail, and then when she had come out, she would just succumb and be kind of like a hush housewife, though he really underestimated Rachel because she will go to jail for a handful of months, and upon getting out of jail, her and her mom will leave the island of St. Croix and bounce to the island of Nevis. This is going to end up becoming a good and bad thing for the future Alexander Hamilton. The bad part is her and her mom don't stick around long enough to get an official divorce, hence why Rachel technically is still married to Levine. The good news for Hamilton is Rachel is going to meet James Hamilton, Hamilton's future father. Bad for Hamilton is James, his dad, is kind of the black sheep from a Scottish family. James Hamilton actually comes from a family that owned a castle in Scotland. His brother and many of his brothers are very successful, though James is not super successful in many of his endeavors. Though Hamilton doesn't talk much about the subject, he will claim that his parents were technically married because they were together long enough to have a common law marriage, though it's kind of the similar situation with like Rachel Jackson, who had been divorced but not technically and then gets married, sort of similar with Hamilton's parents. Now, Hamilton is born in either 1755 or 1757. Hamilton often uses 57, making him appear younger to help him gain an apprenticeship. By the way, if you've ever read Chernov's biography on Hamilton, he does pose the idea that a guy by the name of Thomas Stevens is Hamilton's real dad. He was Rachel, Hamilton's mom's landlord, and has a son, Edward Stevens, who looks strikingly similar to Hamilton. It's a cool theory. Anyways, I'm running out of time for always. Hopefully you learned something. Love you all.